Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Wow, it's been quite some time since I've done my last wrap up. My last wrap up was actually in February and we are in June. So we have March, April, and May to talk about. I have my iPad here for reference because I'm not gonna remember every single book that I read in the past 3 months. So let me count them real quick. So I have 17 books to talk about and I'm not gonna go super in depth with the description or anything like that, but I do want to talk about my feelings towards the book, what I thought about the book, mostly just like my personal thoughts regarding the books. And of course, some of these books might be your favorites or one of your favorites, and just because I didn't like it doesn't mean that it's not good. In my opinion, it takes a lot for me to like a book. Like, it has to be plot heavy. It just has to keep my attention the whole time. It has to be something that I consider a fast-paced read. So some of these are a favorite and I just did not really like them. But nevertheless, let me go ahead and start with the first book. Okay, so the first book that I finished in the month of March was actually a carryover from February, and that is The No-Show by Beth O'Leary. I gave this book a 3.5 stars. And I believe I did also read this as an audiobook. I have recently discovered that I am not a fan of time loops at all. And although this wasn't really a time loop, it was more like a time jump. And reading this in audiobook, I don't think it was the best format for that because I was quite confused in some parts because of the time jumps. Like, I feel like I need to know in a linear timeline what is going on. And I think that's just a me thing. Yeah, like at the end, once you kind of puzzle in all of the timelines to one linear timeline, it's like, okay, I get it. It's like more understanding. And so even though in the end I did kind of get the overall timeline of things, I feel like during the process of reading this or listening to this, I was just so confused. I didn't know what was going on, what happened when. So in the end, when you again puzzle in all of the order of events and you make that one linear timeline, everything makes sense. So whenever you're reading this or whenever you're listening to this for the first time, the way that the author puts the events, it makes it seem like the male character is a big cheater. So the whole time I was just so out of it. Like, I didn't want to read this anymore because of the fact that I really thought this guy was a big cheater. In the end, I was just kind of heartbroken. It does have a very sad ending. So because of the fact that I was misinterpreting and misreading the entire time, I did end up giving this 3.5 stars because of that. I feel like it could have been a 4-star if I didn't have an issue with cheating. But it was a great read. I think, again, I just needed to read it maybe physically because reading this as an audiobook was just not it for me. So after that, I did also pick up Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert. This was my mistake. I did not know this was a YA. I thought this was going to be another one of her romance novels like the Brown Sisters, and again, that was my mistake. So whenever I was reading this and they were mentioning 16 and 17-year-olds, I was like, hold up, okay, eventually there's going to be like a time jump. We're gonna see when they're like in their 20s. And halfway through the book, I was like, okay, we're still in the same age group. What is going on? And it just never picked up for me in terms of what I was expecting from Talia Hibbert because of the fact that this was YA. So what did I give this? I gave this a 3.5 stars because of that. And totally not anything wrong with the book. It's just the expectations that I had going in with it and then what I got from the end, it just wasn't what I was wanting. Still super cute read. The main characters are super sweet. They're very lovable. I feel like Talia Hibbert has a great time writing characters. You get really attached to them and you can really connect to them. I feel like they could be your best friends, and it's just the way that she writes characters is just amazing. So I did give this a 3.5 stars. Talia Hibbert is still one of my favorite authors in terms of romance, but I don't think I will ever pick up another YA just because it's so clean. And I hate to say this, like, I hate the image that I'm putting of myself out there, but seriously, like, when I read Talia Hibbert, I was just expecting something else. So after that, I also read If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nolan. Now, y'all know this book is super popular, but it's also pretty old. I think it was released, yeah, 2013, and it recently like started emerging again, for good reason. I did give this a 5 stars. So sad you're putting yourself in an emotional roller coaster reading this book. I mean, I gave it a 5 star for a reason. It changed one way or another the way that I see things. I do highly recommend if you have been wanting to pick it up but are scared to pick it up because of how well known it is and how overhyped it's being. It's for good reason. So if you're scared to pick it up, please, please, please read it. It's really good. After that, I did read River Woman, River Demon. That is by Jennifer Gavan. I believe I'm pronouncing that correct. And I gave this book a 3 stars. Now, the reason why I picked this up was because it was available on Libby to read as an audiobook. And I also picked it up because it was sort of like a retelling of La Llorona, which is just a Mexican folklore. And I grew up being scared, absolutely terrified of La Llorona. And more than that, there's just so many Mexican folklore out there that it's just so scary, and it's used to scare children on purpose, which now as a grown-up, like, it's weird for me to think about. Even my husband, who he's not Mexican, he's Guatemalan and Salvadorian, he's like, why do y'all scare children? To make them behave. And I'm just like, I don't know, it's just something that we did, I guess. And now thinking back at it, it's like, it's so wrong. But this book, I loved it because there was just so many references to like Mexican food, Mexican tradition, and I really enjoy seeing that. Representation is super important, so I really enjoyed that aspect of it, but I felt like the plot line fell short for me. It just wasn't as creepy or as scary as I was expecting it to be. But maybe that also has to do with the fact that when I think of Mexican folklore, I think of just terrifying things, and I feel like I'm just remembering it as a child and not as an adult. As an adult, I feel like I'm not that scared anymore. So maybe that also had to do with just the enjoyment of the book overall. But still, overall, it was a good read. It was a decent read. 3 stars is not bad. Whenever I rate books, that's still a pretty okay book. I feel like it was worth my time. Anything lower than a 2, it was not worth my time at all. After that, I did also listen to The Guest List by Lucy Foley, and I ended up giving this book a 4 stars. Another book that's really highly known, and to be honest, I don't even remember a lot of the content from it, but I guess I give it a 4 star for good reason. So I feel like my genre is really mystery thriller, so I expect a lot from an author when it comes to mystery thriller. I expect to be like blown away. I expect to be just thrown off the rails. And I feel like Lucy Foley has like a good way to write a plot line. I feel like her characters are written well. Like the overall dilemma between the characters and like the mystery within characters is really good. But I feel like just the storyline, like in between, it's a little bit boring for me. It's kind of slow, and I did feel that way with The Guest List, and I also felt that way with The Paris Apartment. But I feel like the end, like, she redeems herself in the end for me. So yes, I ended up giving that a 4 stars. After that, I read Fable and Namesake, both by Adrian Young, which is book 1 and 2, and I believe this is just a duology. I'm not sure. Is there another book after this? Yes, so there's another one called The Last Legacy, and then there's a 0.5 called Saint. So I still have 2 other books to read in this series, but I did really enjoy these 2 books. It's mostly about a girl who gets left behind by her father. So really, like, the whole book was just this girl having daddy issues. But I feel like the adventure aspect of this book was really, really good. I feel like this has really good like Six of Crows vibes, which I really enjoyed as well. So if you enjoyed Six of Crows and you enjoy like the whole like adventure, what's that word? Heist? Is it heist? I feel like you really enjoy this. Again, the whole daddy issue thing, it was just not my thing. But in the end, I did really enjoy the writing and the way that I could picture myself, or I could picture the images in my head out at sea, dealing with dangerous people. It was really good. I really enjoyed them. So I did give them both 4 stars, and I will be picking up the third. I did not know there was a third, but now that I do, I will go ahead and probably put that on hold on Libby. Next up, I did listen to Stephen King and Owen King's Sleeping Beauties, and I ended up giving this book a 3 star. This book was way too long. I mean, this is the first Stephen King book that I read, to be honest. I'm not really like a big fan. Like, I'm not enticed to read Stephen King because there's literally so many other horror authors out there. So I gave this book a chance. I feel like the plot setting was really good. I feel like they had a really good setting for it. It is about basically women falling into this deep sleep, and it shows the importance of women in society. Truly, like, women are rock stars. I feel like men would not be able to thrive, and that is just my personal opinion. But yeah, there was just so many misogynistic characters in the book that I did not like. I did not like reading about it. I did not like reading about hatred towards women. To be honest, I feel like this is a 3 stars just because it was too long. I did really enjoy the characters. I did read this as an audiobook, and the cast was really good. There was this one specific character, I think her name was Angela or Angel, or Angelica. I think it was Angela. The voice actress did such a good job with her accent. It was so funny. It made me just fall in love with the characters even more, like these women in the prison. And it kind of reminded me of like Orange is the New Black and just like the life of women in prison. And again, if it could have just been just a tiny bit shorter, I feel like I would have enjoyed it more. But it was just like 24 hours of listening time, and me reading it on 2 times speed. 12 hours is still too much. After that, I also read These Fleeting Shadows by Kate Alice Marshall, and I ended up giving this book a 3.5 stars. I read this on my Kindle, and I've got to say, I was quite creeped out about it. There was a night when I was reading it on the bed. I had my Kindle next to me, and my husband walks in, and I'm just reading like this super scary scene with like a creature, and I was just so creeped out by it. Like he only walked in, opened the door, and it like scared the crap out of me. And I love the feeling that that book gave me. I feel like it did took a very dark turn that I was not expecting, and I did not like. Like, it was just too gruesome for me. So if you can withstand that and like you have the stomach for it, I think you would really enjoy this book. It is like a horror, and it is kind of like a Knives Out situation. There's this main character who is basically inheriting a lot of money, and the rest of the family is pretty much pissed at her. Yeah, just too much of a dark turn for me. And then next up after that, I did read Scythe by Neil Shusterman. This is the first book to a series, and I loved this book. 5 out of 5 stars. I feel like I was just hooked from the start. The whole concept of the human population growing nonstop because humanity is victorious over death. Like, we can revive people, there's no more sickness, no more violence. Like, just like the whole concept, and even the characters in the book, they think back to the world where there was death, and they just could not probably process how humans lived, just because how easy it is for them to revive themselves, how easy it is for them to overcome any sickness, and how silly it seems for people to hurt other people. Like, because it honestly is, it's silly. Why do people hurt other people? I don't understand. So in a perfect world, something needs to control population, and that's where Scythe come in. So Scythes are professionals, and their profession is to glean people, which basically just means killing people in order to control population. It was so good. I don't know why I haven't picked up the second book. Honestly, I have so many books to read and so little time, but I am considering picking up the second one this month because I don't want to forget too much before I jump into the second book. And it's just so interesting to see, like, even Scythes who have all this power, and they're supposed to have like integrity in terms of their gleanings, there is still corruption, and there is like this AI who is basically the cloud turned into like this almighty being who makes all the decisions for humanity. They do not interfere with Scythes. That's like, their Scythes and the AI are 2 different things. The AI is also called the Thunderhead. So the Thunderhead and the Scythes, they don't intervene with each other, but I feel like the Thunderhead has something behind their sleeves. I need to read the second book. I'm getting excited about it just thinking about it. So next up, I did also read The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher. This book took me so long to read. Like, the cover of this is stunning. Everything about it was so enticing to me. I really thought that I was going to have a good time, and I didn't. So I also read another one of T. Kingfisher's book just to see if it was the book or the author that I didn't enjoy. It turns out it was the book that I did not enjoy. let me see. I think I left my bookmark on page 274, and the rest of this I had to pick up on audiobook because I just could not put myself through it anymore. I ended up giving this book a 1 star, 1.5. It was just, it was so slow, it was boring. I feel like it had so much potential and it went nowhere. Like, truly, it really did have so much potential. Like, the setting was great. The fantasy aspect of this was really good as well. So basically, follow Kara, who she discovers a hole in her uncle's house, which is also like a museum for curious things. And she discovers this hole, she goes through it, and she's just like found in this weird world. I don't even know how to explain it, man. It is just so odd. I like it, just had so much potential. Like, just a hole in the wall with creatures on the other side just sounds so interesting. Like, she really could have done so much with this, but it fell short for me, unfortunately. And I wasn't the only one. Like, this was part of a book club that I had joined at the time, and everybody thought it was so boring, and I was so scared to pick it up because of that. So I waited a couple months afterwards, and then I decided to pick it up, and it's still like, I don't know if it was influenced by the book club or what, but yeah, I didn't really enjoy it. After that, I did also pick up The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Rashani Chakshi. I believe this is a retelling. I'm not sure of what story, but considering the fact that it was a retelling and I didn't know what story it was retold from, the ending I quickly was able to decipher. There was like no plot twist for me at all. I also feel like I went into this expecting more of like a fairy tale. I really thought there was going to be more involvement of the fae, but it unfortunately did not. Again, I feel like that doesn't mean the book was bad. I just feel like my experience with it was not what I expected. And considering the fact that I am so bad at predicting, and the fact that I was able to predict this like halfway, I don't know, something about it I just didn't really like. And Rashani Chakshi is a really well-known author for another one of her books that I really want to pick up. So I'm hoping her other books are really good. I know she has like a middle grade that I've been wanting to read. And this was also a part of like the top 23 books that I want to read in 2023. I gave this a 3.5. It wasn't bad at all. A little bit disappointed, but still a great read. So then after that is when I read What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, and I gave this book a 3 star. It was really creepy. It was short. I believe I read this on audiobook. Again, I randomly picked this up because I wanted to see if it was the author that I didn't really enjoy or if it was just the book, The Hollow Places. And I did kind of enjoy this one. So this is a retelling of Edgar Allan Poe's classic, The Fall of the House of Usher, which I've never read. And this kind of follows like the same idea of fungal growth and how there's fungus out there that like basically controls dead ants, like zombie ants. And this kind of goes into play as well of The Last of Us. If you haven't seen the show, if you haven't played the video game, it revolves around this fungus who is, you know, basically taking over bodies, making them act zombie-like. And that is basically what is happening in this book. Fungus has basically grown adapt to take over a human body. There's like sleepwalking involved, strange noises, like just acting weird, and the whole aspect of that was really intriguing to me. Something about zombies, man. I don't know what it is. So yeah, I think it was just the Hollow Places that I didn't like, and I really needed to know because there's another T. Kingfisher book in my top 23 to read in 23 that I'm hoping that I really enjoy. So I might just give her another chance with that one. But in terms of What Moves the Dead, I gave it a 3 stars. I did enjoy it. After that, I did also pick up Funny You Should Ask by Alyssa Sussman. And yes, this is a carryover from February, and I finished this in May. So super slow for me. I know this was such a popular read. I don't know if it was the cover for people. For me, it was the cover, truly, and the fact that it was all over TikTok, so I decided to pick it up in February. But it took me so long to read. It was really slow. I feel like the second chance romance in this was so bad. Like, there's just so much miscommunication, and I hate that. I hate like, I love a good second chance romance, but if it's because you don't tell the person how you feel, after so long, then I have a problem with it. And yeah, I did have a problem with this one. I was like on the last 10 pages for forever. In fact, I don't even think I finished the last couple pages. I just kind of DNF'd it. But because I was so close to the end, I still rated it. So I think for two reasons I didn't like this. The first reason being because of the miscommunication, and the second chance romance could have been a lot better. And then second, because it was just so overhyped, which tends to not be a problem for me, but in this case, it was, unfortunately. After that, I did also read Begin Again by Emma Lord, which is another book in my top 23 to read in 2023. And unfortunately, I gave this book a 2 stars. I gave this book a 2 stars because I just could not relate to the characters. I couldn't get attached to them. I felt like they weren't lovable characters at all, and then on top of that, the storyline was just so slow. I feel like the book made it seem like long distance relationships cannot work when in fact they can. Again, the characters, I just did not like them at all, and that was the main reason why I gave this book a 2 stars. Main characters not being likable to me, and then also just the plot line was just so slow. After that, I also read When in Rome by Liam Callanan, and I listened to this on audiobook. This one took me quite a while to also finish, not because it was bad, but I feel like recently listening to audiobooks is not the format for me, because I started many audiobooks and they would expire and I wouldn't finish them. This one took me quite a while because of that, but I did give it a 5-star read. I love this book. When in Rome had many chapters of like different locations in Rome, and it was so awesome to see the locations and to know that I was there. Again, I think I mentioned this. I don't know what video I mentioned this on, but I mentioned that I wanted to read this because I love Italy and I've been there twice and I'm hoping to be back again. My love for like Italian culture led me to kind of get my bachelor's in Italian. And every time I'm there, I just feel like I'm the happiest. If I don't get to go physically, I at least want to read about it. And I really, really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the fact that the main character also has like this fascination towards like the magic of the city of Rome. Like truly, it's really magical. So there is a bit of a romance in the book as well. So we meet Claire, who is in her 50s. She is looking for like a fresh start. She's previously had like a relationship with the church, with the Catholic Church, and dedicating her life to being a nun. Having that in her past and deciding to go a different route because of love led her to help this convent who is in trouble of losing their church. And so she goes to help the sisters, and she quickly realizes that the convent is made for her, and so she's trying to kind of rejoin, um, explore that option as well. And so she's conflicted because not only is she a 52-year-old woman, but she's had her like share in life. Like she's had her daughter, she's had romance, and so she's kind of like wondering, does she deserve to be in this convent? So her kind of exploring that, and you know, experiencing just like again the magic of Rome. I enjoyed the book because of that. And in the end, everybody was happy. You know, love thrives. It was just a really good book. It was just a really happy overall. So after that, I also picked up Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney, which I ended up giving a 4.5 stars. This was a retelling of Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. So this was a whodunit kind of book. This was amazing. The plot twist was not what I was expecting from Alice Feeney. I think because I read Rock, Paper, Scissors, I feel like I don't know if anything can top that, honestly. It wasn't predictable at all for me. It was not. And there was still kind of like a little twist in the end. And her writing is just really good. I think that helped me keep pushing to finish the novel. I feel like she does a really good job of making the reader feel like she is in the same room with these characters. So in this book, Alice Feeney did a really good job at kind of influencing the readers to think a certain way about the characters, to see them in a certain light. And then in the end, she just kind of threw that all in your face and said, haha, psych. So I really enjoyed that aspect of the book. I feel like she did a good job at like carrying me through the process of the whole story. And again, I haven't read Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None, so I wasn't expecting anything from it. but I did really like it. I enjoy Alice Feeney, and I will be reading her backlist, but yeah, this one I do highly recommend. There was just this one scene for me that like traumatized me. I feel like that scene really explained the whole relationship with the family and why it's so messed up. Like truly, it was just so traumatizing. I've heard nothing but good things about this, and it's for a reason. So that I believe is it for all the books that I read for March, April, and May. I apologize for not updating my wrap-ups month to month, but I hope that this video did it justice. If you made it to the end of this video, make sure to comment any summer-related emoji, the sun, waves, the beach, anything that you would like. That would really support my channel. Don't forget to give it a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it as well. And if you've been enjoying my content so far, also don't forget to subscribe down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one.